Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Browns Training Camp Insider. I'm Dan Labbe, and on the phone, as always, from Berea, we have Mary Kay Cabot. Mary Kay, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. Mary Kay, Friday is over. It's on to Family Day tomorrow at the University of Akron, and today's practice had a little bit of a different feel to it. It seemed like the players were a lot looser out there, and of course, at the end of practice, they ended with the coaches trying to field punts. Talk a little bit about the vibe of practice today, and if these players were kind of ready to get out of Berea and at least go practice someplace else tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what? They ended the practice with a fun session, and I think you have to do that in practice. You have to break things up. This is a team that still needs to get to know each other. They need to bond. I mean, this is a whole new coaching staff, a bunch of new players thrown together, and you have to do things to develop that team, that camaraderie. And that was one of the things that happened after practice today when they got the orange jersey thing going on, where either the offense or the defense wins the orange jerseys for practice the next day, depending on a challenge period. The assistant coaches, took it upon themselves to come up with a challenge period involving catching punts, and the assistants actually did this. Jim O'Neill, the defensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, 7 out of the 8 of them caught these knuckleball punts. And the offense won. There was only one dropped ball by a defensive coach, Anthony Weaver, fessed up to it today. And so it was just a fun thing. And the offense won, finally, because the defense has had the orange jerseys for the last couple of days. But, it just kind of lightens the mood a little bit heading into the scrimmage. There's going to be some live tackling and some big hitting tomorrow, and some lighter moments like this.
Yeah, even Kyle Shanahan had to go a long ways to track down a punt, and he still got to it to help the offense get those orange jerseys. First kind of, I don't want to call it, we don't know what it is yet, but the first noticeable injury of practice of training camp, Tashaun Gibson. Do we have an update on him yet?
No update on him yet, but I do think it was somewhat significant that he walked out the practice field. I mean, if he had been carted off, then I think we would have a little bit more to worry about at this point. But the fact that he walked off, and when he was walking, he didn't actually look to be, wincing or in too much pain. I think it was something they felt they needed to definitely check out, but maybe not necessarily something that they were overly alarmed about.
Now, the defense, of course, has spent the last few days kind of barking a little bit. The offense today returned the favor. The wide receivers had a number of celebrations. Anthony Armstrong launched a ball into the crowd. Nate Burleson stuck a ball underneath his shirt. Johnny-Manziel shot a ball over the goalposts. What was going on with the offense today? Why were they so, tuned in to what they were doing?
Well, you know what? They're going against some really good defensive backs every day in Joe Hayden, Justin Gilbert, Buster Screen, Dante Whitner, Tashaun, and, things get a little bit tense in there and a little bit physical. And you know what? The receivers just came out with some results, and they just decided, we're going to have ourselves a day. And, Nate Burleson made the vow today that he was going to come out and run the best routes that he possibly could. And so, again, like you said, when he caught a touchdown pass and some red zone drills, he stuck the ball under his shirt, and when we asked him why afterwards, he said, well, because this is my baby. Talking about football, this is it. This is what I do, and it was just kind of funny. And plus, the other thing that he mentioned, and this is so true, he was playing to the crowd, and there has to be a little bit of that in training camp. It makes it a little bit fun. I mean, the crowd loved it when Johnny, pretended like he was, shooting a jumper with the ball over the goalpost after he got a touchdown. He got penalized for it, but still it was a crowd pleaser. And I think we need to do a little bit of that. People are coming from all over. I took a picture of a young man yesterday that came all the way from Arizona to see Jabal Sheard, and he was in the stands. So we've got fans coming from, I think by now it says something like 36, 37 states. And, Nate Burleson was recognizing that, you have to give them a little something to get excited about. So I think that was part of it, too. So a lot of things went into it, but it was just the kind of day where there was a little bit of entertainment for the crowd.
Now let's talk about the quarterbacks. There's already a couple questions about the quarterbacks in the comments. Yesterday Kyle Shanahan said the competition was pretty much even. Did anyone separate themselves today?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you can see that, both of them are doing, some good things, and both of them are making some mistakes here and there. And I really don't think it's a situation where one looks incredibly ahead of the other. And we still haven't seen those first team reps from Johnny. Those didn't happen today. That's one thing Kyle Shanahan and Mike-Pettine told us, that we were going to be seeing some of those first team reps. I think they'll come tomorrow in the scrimmage. He didn't answer me about that today when I asked Mike-Pettine your stats on deck for tomorrow, but I do think that they will do that. I think that, there's a crowd of 25,000 coming out, and a lot of those people are going to be there to see Johnny-Manziel. And they need to get him out there a little bit with the first team and let people see what he can do. The other thing is they're ready to see what Johnny can do. They bought something special in the first round of the draft in Johnny-Manziel. They want to see what they have. They want to see, what can he do against some NFL competition when a play breaks down. What can he do when it's not going to be live tackling for the quarterbacks, but they will still get to have an idea of exactly what might he be able to do if it was a game-type situation and he pulls the ball in and tries to run with it. Is he going to get slammed by a Jabal Sheard instantly? Is he going to be able to make a little bit of magic the way that he always did in college? So I think everybody's excited to see some of that.
Question in the comments about Johnny-Manziel is he's taken more snaps and seemed to get a little more comfortable with this offense. Does it seem to you like he's getting a little bit of that, kind of Johnny-Manziel swagger back that might have been missing early in camp?
You know what? He is getting some of that back. Yes, I will say that. But here's another thing to consider. Yesterday when we interviewed Johnny, he talked a lot about how vastly different it is for him to have a playbook, how confusing it can be, how it's a complete 180 from what he's used to, and just how unbelievably complicated these calls are, and how there's tags on a call where, you'll go through the whole long call to begin with, and then there's different variations on the play, and you add a tag onto the end of that, which changes the whole dynamic of the play, and then he's got to be reading defenses and reading his keys and trying to figure out, where the safety is and those kind of things. So his head is swimming right now, and I believe, and you know what, we didn't really ask him this question yesterday, and tomorrow we need to try to ask him this question if we can squeeze it in. Now do you wish you might have had your head in the playbook a little bit more over the last 10 weeks? And I doubt he will admit that, but he has to be thinking at this point, boy, now I get it. Now I realize how hard I probably should have been working.
Yeah, especially Mary Kay, because at the same time, Brian Hoyer has probably played better than Johnny-Manziel at this point, but it's not like Hoyer has just come out and grabbed this competition.
No, you know what? He's learning a new offense as well. And here's the other thing to consider. This is why Brian has to work his tail off every single second of the day as well. He's only started 3 NFL games himself. Maybe there was another one somewhere else in his career. But for the Browns, he's only started 3. And in his career, it's 3, or maybe there was another one in there somewhere. But that's it. It's not like Johnny-Manziel is trying to unseat Tom Brady or Drew Brees. He's coming in here and trying to beat out a guy who's got 4 or 3 NFL starts under his belt. And there's a real opportunity there. And Brian knows it. Not only that, Johnny brings a different skill set to the table. So, it's a good competition. And I do believe Kyle Shanahan yesterday when he says, it's even. Nobody's ahead of the other. These guys know that they're not going to see the real deal until they get into the actual football game.
Mary Kay, let's talk about the Browns' other first-round draft pick, their actual top pick in the draft, Justin Gilbert. He seems to be getting more and more comfortable at that cornerback position. Of course, he's in a battle with Buster Screen to be the number 2 corner. What have you seen from Gilbert over the last few days?
You know what? He's starting to really show up as a playmaker. He's breaking up passes. He's around the football. He's a ball hawk. There's no question about it. He looks to me to be the real deal. I actually think there is a chance he'll be ready to start the season. We'll know more as we go along here over the next couple of weeks. And he looks really good and really polished right from the start. And I remember that's how Joe Hayden looked. You can tell right away, when you have a phenomenal athlete that you're staring at out here. And, they just do stand out above the others. And that's what we're seeing right now from Justin Gilbert.
I want to ask you about Dion Lewis because I think he's had a couple of pretty good days at camp, and I was kind of watching that second tier of running backs today. You got Dion Lewis, Edwin Baker, Chris Obanaya, some other people kind of gunning for that number 3 running back spot. What have you thought of Lewis, and what do you think about those guys kind of behind Ben Tate and Terrence West?
You know what? There's a lot of good running backs on this team that run really hard and fast, and there is not a lot of separation between some of those guys or among some of those guys. When you look at, like you said, the Dion Lewises and the Edwin Bakers that are out there, I mean, it looks to me like they belong on an NFL team. I mean, Dion Lewis is coming off the leg injury, and he's running really, really hard and withstanding some tackles, and he's going to make the decision difficult on this team. So, they're going to have a good running game. Those guys are all pushing each other. I still think Ben Tate looks, like he's comfortably ahead of everybody else. But then when you get into, and Terrence West looks very good, and he's running very hard. I still think Ben Tate looks better than him right now. But I think Dion Lewis is starting to make some noise. And if he keeps up this way, I think there's a good chance he can make this team.
Okay, Mary Kay, last question. For fans heading down to Akron tomorrow for Family Day at the University of Akron, what can they expect?
Well, they can expect a scrimmage, which we haven't seen in a few years from the Family Day. It's really been just controlled practices over the last few years, and I have found them to be extremely boring, and I'm sure the fans have too. So I think that the fans can expect a little bit of excitement, a little bit of fun. The Browns are going down to a new area that they haven't practiced in before. And, I think they want to bring a little bit of a show with them, and I think they'll do that. That's why I do think that you'll see Johnny's son with the first team, and I think they'll loosen the reins on Johnny a little bit and let him run around and be himself. That's why a lot of those people are coming. So I think they can expect that and some good live tackling. I think you'll see some good hard running, and I think you'll see this defense is getting really good, and you'll see some big plays.
All right, thanks, Mary Kay.
Thank you.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us on Browns Insider as she has every day during training camp this week. Of course, we will have full coverage of today's day at training camp, and then tomorrow's Family Day. Of course, we'll have a live blog, lots of video from the University of Akron. It is sold out, so if you don't have tickets yet, you're not going to be able to get there. So make sure you hit cleveland.com/Browns for all the latest training camp news. Like I said, lots of more posts coming today, and then a whole lot coming tomorrow as well, as far as Browns coverage is concerned. For Mary Kay Cabot, I'm Dan Labbe.